And then God said, what about your baby? And I thought, oh, shit.
I'm here with the lovely, young, beautiful Barbara, and she's got a very, very interesting story to tell about a big moment that happened in her life that's actually connected her deeper with herself.
When I was 21, I had my first baby. I had her totally natural. She was born, she was healthy. I got her to my chest, but then the doctor said something's going wrong. So the baby was taken away safely, and I was bleeding, and I bled and bled and bled. They had to move me from the delivery room and make up an operating theatre. They knew I hadn't had any anaesthetic during the baby, but they couldn't give me any for the pain because my blood level was so low. They kept pumping blood into me. My veins would collapse. I wasn't accepting the blood. What I did take, it just came through me again. I lost 19 units in total, or 19 pints of blood back then. And it got to a point, it was about 4 hours into the theatre. I just said, and I wasn't a religious person, I hadn't had a church upbringing, and I just said, please, if there is a God, I just want to die. I can't put up with this pain any longer. I looked up and the ceiling opened up, a huge light came down, and the light picked me up, took me up way above, but I could still see down to the room. I could see them working on me. When the light took me, there was a big boiler behind me, a boiler, a thick glass with boiling water in it to heat the blood up. When the light came down, it exploded, and glass, boiling water went everywhere, but nobody got hurt. They couldn't believe that there was these shards of thick glass all over the floor, and everyone sort of checked themselves, and that's when the doctor said, oh, she's dead, she's gone. When I went up, the light took me, energy spoke to me. I now know it was vibration. And I had a big conversation with God, but I can't remember hardly any of it. All I can remember is God said, we will take you, we're here. And there was people, faceless arms, maybe angels, waiting for me. You know, okay, come across. And then God said, what about your baby? And I thought, oh, shit, I hadn't thought about my baby at all. All I thought was, shit. And with that, bang, I was just dropped from way up high. And I banged on the bed, and I opened up my eyes. Down there, what was going on, there was an anaesthetist stayed with me the whole time. For when the blood built up, she would then put me under and put me out of the pain. But it never built up, so she was never really needed. She stayed with me the whole time, and she said that she was looking into my eyes and telling me not to die, not to die. And all of a sudden, the pupils of my eyes went white, and she knew the light was taking me. And she was hitting me, saying, don't go, don't die, don't die. And I said to myself, no, I'm going. This is good. This is the right thing. I'm going. The doctor said to the nurse, what's the time? We've got to put down the time of death. And she looked at her watch, and it was all cracked. And he said, oh, well, we've got to work out, take a few minutes off because she's been dead for a few minutes. So I want to sort of get the time accurate. And the nurse said, the clock stopped. That stopped on the time of her death. So that's the exact time she died. And strangely enough, I can remember the nurse looking and the doctor writing the time of death. The nurse left the room. There was only the doctor and the anaesthetist. And he sort of looked at her as, why are you staying? You know, like, go to your next patient. And she was an older Asian lady. She was more connected. The doctor came and went to close my eyes. And she said, no, keep the windows open. And he just looked at her and just walked away and was doing his own thing. And she said all of a sudden she saw the white light again. And she said to the doctor, she's coming back. And he said, no, she's dead. She said, put the paddles on her. Start her heart up again. And he said, no, I refuse to. She's been beaten and battered. I was bruised all over. Where the needles went into the veins, they were collapsing, and the blood that they were pumping into me was just going underneath the skin. So it formed as like big bruises. Also, I've got scars from all the needles that they were, putting the blood into me. Mm-hmm. I was getting needles down the eyeballs, and this is while I was conscious.
Trying to get blood through that way. Trying to get blood through that way.
Yeah, because the veins were all collapsing. So they all my veins, they just couldn't. Yeah. So the needles in the eyeballs were particularly painful. And that's when I think I got to the point with, hey, wait a minute, this is not working. I've got to die. She said to the doctor, she's coming back. She wants to come back. And he said, no, she can't. It's just not possible. And she said, if you don't put the paddles on her, I've never done it before, but I'm going to do it. I'll do it. And he said, okay, righto, I'll put the paddles on her. And he put the paddles on me, obviously. At the time he put the paddles on, that was the time that, like, I dropped and my body, because of the paddles. Yeah. So that sort of connected the coming back was my heart starting again. Was when they just dropped me and boom, But his exact words were, fuck, what do we do now? And she said, you can't kill her. Do whatever. So he said, we've got to pump blood into her. She's got to get her blood back up. There was only the doctor and the anaesthetist, and he said, okay, well, you get the blood going. I'll get the blood going, and you be there for the anaesthetic if she does build up enough blood. And then he said, what else are we going to do? And the nurse came back in, the one that had the broken watch, and she went, holy fuck, she's alive. How? What? And the doctor said, I can't explain. He said, run and get help. The blood we're pumping into her is freezing cold. It's refrigerated blood. And we've got no boiler. We can't warm this blood up. She's going to die of hypothermia. I don't know what to do. I'm lost. And the nurse went running out and came back with a team of other people. They put what we call in Australia a space blanket. It's blue and silver. And the silver part goes up and the blue part against your body. And she collected a whole lot of heat lamps from all around, or the maternity. The women were using them for pain, and she was like, no, pain, you don't need that. I need it. And they put all these heat lamps on the blanket, and that's how they kept my body warm.
When you was actually speaking to God, you actually asked him about church, didn't you?
I did.
What did he say?
Yes. I can't remember the big conversations that I had at the time with God. At the time that I woke up, all I could remember, because I sat up and said, shit. And they thought I was saying shit because, this is horrific. But I was saying shit because I'd forgot about my daughter. I've had epiphanies, I think that's what you call them, memories of my conversation with God. And one of them was, okay, now that you've given me this life again, I have to go back and I have to go to church and I have to tell everyone, there's a God, there is a God. I died, I spoke to him. He said, no. This is this is between you and I. No going to church. Churches are walls a ceiling, and the ceiling for you is cutting you off from me. We're beyond that. You just go back. You be true to yourself. It's the main thing. Be good to other people. What you give them, they will give you back tenfold. So the kinder you are to people, you'll get back. Be a giver, not a receiver. Don't ask for anything. And by giving, you will receive.
Yeah.
And that was 39 years ago. I was 21 when I died. I'm 60 now. I felt like I couldn't tell too many people because they would just think, well, people used to say, you're off with the fairies. And I'd think, okay, that's a good sign to shut up and don't tell anyone anything, because they just think, you know, you're mad.
Yeah. Another thing with that as well is sometimes you have like involuntary astral projections, don't you?
I do. Since I was 21,
yeah,
I didn't know what it was called, but the pineal gland is opened.
Yeah.
And so I've got that contact with God.
You got the connection.
I've got the connection.
And you can astral project, can't you?
I can. At night time, not at will. It's up to God when it happens. But my brother died. He came to me. He took me. I went with him. We just spent the most incredible day together. We laughed. We sang. We danced together. We just did everything that we sang, and we didn't do this on earth. And finally, he was in a white suit, really pure. Maybe not a suit, maybe just white clothing. And he said, it's time for you to go back. And I said, I know, but I can't. And he said, you've got to go back. You cannot stay here with me. And he took me back. He put me back into my body. I sat up in bed. We cuddled. I cuddled him. I gave him a kiss. I opened up my eyes and my hands just went. He had left. It was just, and I knew then that this was not a dream. This had really happened. I've done it also with my grandma. I never laid in bed and asked, but one time grandma took me, we did the thing. We used to walk downtown and buy a pasty, a Cornish pasty. I don't know in Australia.
Yep, we know that.
Okay. And she used to put it in a bag, wrap it in a plastic bag, and then we'd have to come home to eat it. So it was always this long process of getting this pasty that from the most beautiful pasties you'd ever taste. And so when I was with her, we walked downtown, we bought a pasty, we caught the bus home. She bought me some lollies from the corner shop, a drink. We walked back to her place. I ate the pasty, drank the drink. And then the same, she said, you've got to go back. I said, yeah, I know, I've been through this before, I know the procedure, come back with me. And she said, I will take you back. And once again, I woke up sitting up in bed, cuddling grandma, and, you know, embracing her. She was there, I couldn't put my hands in, she was there. I opened up my eyes and whoop, she was gone. She just like a balloon. And I burped, and it was Cornish pasty. And it was just, you know, like, it was a nice burp. It was a taste of the Cornish pasty, and I knew that it was real. I had astro travelled, and people do, and it's a real thing. The end.
The end. Thank you for that. It's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
And I know it's not easy for you to tell.
It was hard.
Thank you.